This is just a quick go through some of the questions from the review packet. So again, the sections that are on the test for the graph and quadratics, that's the first section. It also just deals with a lot of the basic terminology and things like that. So again, know what it means to be standard form, know how to find A, B, and C. You have to be able to graph it, and we went through that process today in class again. Comparing the width, probably really not going to have anything on that, so we can cross that out. Knowing whether it's a max or min, knowing whether it opens up or down, being able to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry, definitely. Solving the quadratics by graphing. So you need to be able to find the zeros, roots, or solutions. Again, these terms are all meaning the same thing. So from the graph, you need to be able to find the solutions, and obviously you need to be able to graph it yourself. Um, the complex and imaginary numbers, knowing how to work with I, solving the quadratics by factoring, solving with the quadratic formula, and solving with the square root. So those are the topics. So this first page, I'm just going to go through, I'll try to do like one of each type, just again reviewing some of the complex number stuff. Again, you want to write this at the top of your quiz, your test, I'm sorry. When you start, I would just write that down just so I don't forget to make those substitutions for I squared, and I cubed, and I to the fourth. So, excuse me, for our first problem here, again, make sure you show all your work for anything that's on the section that I'm collecting, and you need to show your work for, and anything that says show your work, make sure you have your work. Um, excuse me. And for this one, we're going to start whenever it's not a 4, you want to divide by 4. So you're going to take that 14 and divide it by 4. When you do 14 divided by 4, that's going to be 3.5. So again, whenever it's 0.5, that means the remainder is 2, or 2/4, 3 and 2/4. So that means you want to put it as I to the second power. Again, whatever that remainder is, you can write that for yourself. Again, if it's 0.25, it's going to be I to the first. If it's 0.5, it's I squared. And if it's 0.75, it's I to the third. If there's no remainder, so it just goes in evenly, no remainder, that means it's I to the fourth, because it just goes in, it's a straight multiple of 4. So again, when it's 0.5, this means I squared, and I squared is the same as -1. So move on to number 2. For number 2, we're going to break this one down. Factors of 75, one that's a perfect square is 25, and 3. Now it's a negative, so I'm going to stick the negative with the 25. So when I take the square root of a -25, it's going to be 5i root 3. That's the way I would write it. There were a couple of you on the exit card who wrote it like this, 5 root 3i. It's too close to tell if the 3 is under the radical. I'm sorry, if the I is under the radical. Excuse me. So the I will always go in front, like with the constant. It'll never go after the radical. Okay, so just make sure you do it that way. You see I took off a half a point. That's probably why. Moving on, number 2 is a subtraction problem. Number 8 is multiplication. There are a couple of you who keep foiling all the time, so you just have to watch out for that. So for number 2, this is simply subtraction. So it's 3 minus 8. That's going to be a -5. And then it's 2 minus a -4. Minus a minus is a plus, so that becomes plus 6i. For number 8, we have to distribute the 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3i is 21i. Then we come back and we distribute the -5i. We get -10i. And we get -15i squared. Answer is going to be 14 plus 11i. And then minus 15 times a -1. Again, you don't, for this, most of us can do that second step with I in our head, so you don't necessarily have to show this extra step. But I would want to see this as far as you're foiling it out. And then, the combining after that, I understand if you could skip some steps. So we'll have 14. Oops. Oh, yeah, I'm just right now. 14 plus 11i. And this will be a plus 15. What just happened there? Plus 15. And then your final answer will be 29 plus 11i. Next problem is just combining like terms for number 3. So for number 3, the like terms are the i's. So it's 8 plus 4, that's going to be 12i. And then 12 minus 6 is going to be a 6i. And then we have the negative 9 and the positive 8. That's going to be a negative 1. Now, again, I'm going to write it in standard form, which is with the I term second. So that's my answer. For number 9, sorry, I just realized my TV was on. Excuse me. For number 9, we're going to distribute the 5i squared. 5i squared times 3i to the second, 3i to the fourth is going to be 15. I to the 6. Again, we add exponents when we multiply. And then this is going to give me plus 10i to the 7th. Again, 6, I to the 6th and I to the 7th, those are both not 1, 2, 3, or 4, so we have to simplify that. I to the 6th is going to be the same as I squared. And again, for that, you can just do 6 divided by 4. And the I to the 7th is going to end up being 10. And this is going to be 7 divided by 4. So that'll be I to the 3rd. So now we're going to replace, I to the 2nd and I to the 3rd. So this is going to be 15 times negative 1. And then this is going to be 10 times the negative I. Answer is negative 15 minus 10i. All right. For the next one, number 4, you're going to multiply. So for number 4, you multiply the coefficients. So that's going to be 9 times 3 is negative 3 times 9 is going to be negative 18. Negative 18. And then 18 times 2 is 36. And 36 times 4, I think that's 44. 144. Yeah, it is. All right, so that's going to be a negative 144. And then for the i's, again, when you multiply, you add exponents. So I'll put a 1 here so you won't forget. 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4. So that's going to be 4, 6, 8. How did I get 4, 6, 8? 4, 6, 10. Oops. I to the 10th here. Oh, okay. And you're going to end up with negative 144 I to the 10th. Sorry, I had to tell him to be quiet. He's mad loud downstairs. Negative 144. And I to the 10th is going to end up being I squared. And so therefore that's going to be negative 144 times negative 1. Answer is 144. All right. Those are, we kind of did something like that. Just trying to make sure we do a little bit of everything. I guess I'll do 10. It might be a little different to some of you. It's going to be 2. And I to the 40th, again, if we do 40 divided by 4, it's just 10, no remainder. So if there's no remainder, then that means it's really I to the 4th. So it's just 2 times 1, which is 1. I'm sorry, 2 times 1, which is 2. We've done enough like that. Let's look at number 12, just in case. For 12, I would simplify this first. I would have 18 minus, and the square root of a negative 36 is going to be 6i over 6. And if you leave it like that, it wouldn't be considered reduced because it's like a fraction that you can reduce. So 6 goes into 18, it goes into 6, etc. So I can reduce this. So in the end, my final answer here is going to be, that's going to be 3 because 18 divided by 6 is 3. This is going to be 1, and this is going to be 1. So my final answer is going to be 3 minus I because there's no need in putting the 1 in the denominator there. For 12, C, I think that is. For 12, for this one, it's squared. So you want to remember that when it's something squared, you have to rewrite it as multiplying the binomial times itself. And then you're going to go and distribute this out here. You get 16 plus 4i. And then you distribute the other one, which is going to be the I times 4. It's another 4i. And I times I squared, I times I is I squared. So I'm going to end up with 16 plus 8i minus 1, because I squared is negative 1. Answer is going to be 15 plus 8i. For something like number 6, 6b, I just wanted to show you here that you do need to reduce this. There's nothing to do with the 5 because under the radical we can't do anything with that. But the 8, the 12, and the 16, those can all be reduced. We do 2, but we can also go bigger than 2. We can go to 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And the root 5 is still there. And then the 16 divided by 4 is 4. So this would be our answer for that. And for number 12b, we get 7i. All right. So for number 2, it says solve the quadratic using any method. So again, if you have no direction, you can do whatever you want. In this case, obviously we can't square root, but our 2 options would be either to use factoring if possible, and or the quadratic formula. For this one, I would factor because I see that it's factorable. But most of you, normally when A is not 1, you'll probably go quadratic formula method, which is fine. I'm going to factor. So if I factor, I'm going to do my AC here. AC is negative 14. So I need factors of negative 14 that give me 5. So it's going to be positive 7 and negative 2. Excuse me. So it's x plus 7, x minus 2. I have to remember to divide by A. And A in this situation is 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. I cannot divide here, so this goes in front. It becomes 2x plus 7. I can divide here, so it becomes x minus 1 equals 0. Then I do my 2 equations, 2x plus 7. I'm just going to move it over, actually. Then I do my 2 equations. It's going to be 2x plus 7 equals 0. And x minus 1 equals 0. Minus 7. I get 2x equals negative 7. I get x equals negative 3.5. And then for this one, I add 1. I get x equals 1. So these are my 2 solutions. All right. Next for B, it's asking you to find the axis of symmetry. So let me go back to the top. I'll write down my A, B, and C. A is 2. B is 5. And C is negative 7. So when I find my axis of symmetry, let me zoom out so I can see it here. We use that formula, x equals negative b over 2a. So in this situation, it's going to be negative 5 minus 5 over 2 times 2. That's going to be negative 5 over 4, which is negative 1.25. The fraction or the decimal is perfectly fine. All right, so now I need to find the vertex. For finding the vertex, I need to use my x that I just got to find y. So my vertex is going to be negative 1.25 for the x value. And now I'm going to figure out the y. Excuse me. So it's going to be y equals, I should have kept this zoomed out. The equation is, 2. And then I'm putting in the negative 1.25, because that's what x was, squared, plus 5 times negative 1.25 minus my 7. And then I go ahead and do that math. Again, I can key the whole thing in at once into my calculator to kind of ensure I don't have any issues with my negatives. 0.25 squared plus 5 times negative 1.25 and minus 7. All right. So I get y equals negative 10.125. So this is going to be my vertex. Okay. All right. Now I can tell you right now that this is going to be a gross graph, and I put a small graph here for some reason. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you guys this in decimal. Okay, yeah. When I look at these values, this little graph I put up here, I don't know what I was thinking, is way too small to handle this. This vertex cell in this weird situation. So I'm just going to show you guys what this will look like in Desmos. And I'm sorry, let me cross this out. We are not doing any vertex form, so don't worry about that. So I'm just going to open up the graphing calculator app and show you guys what this is going to look like quickly, just because I'm not going to graph this one, at least not here. All right, guys, so here we are in Desmos. We're just going to type the equation in pretty quickly. 2 x squared plus 5x minus 7. All right, so let's see what this is going to look like. Excuse me, I forgot what I just got. I get 2 point. So this is all the way over here. Oh, okay, it's kind of far over. Let me not zoom in that much. Okay, there we go. Because it looked like it was over a lot more than 2 units for a second. All right, so if you look at this graph here, the vertex that we got was negative 1.125. So if you look at that, that looks like about what it is at the vertex down there. Yeah, there it is. And you can see the coordinates right there. That's my vertex. And then after that, obviously that's your axis of symmetry, and you can put some points. Again, I won't have it be that nasty. But it did ask you to circle the solutions on the graph. So the solutions on the graph, you know, granted, I don't think most of you tried to graph this one either. That would be one of the solutions. This would be the other. And again, we already figured out what the solutions were a second ago anyway, when we got those two answers of, I'm going to go back to this now. We already had the solutions here just a second ago when I got the two answers, the 1 and the negative 3.5. So the solutions will be the same, just wanted to circle it on the graph. All right, let's keep it moving. These next couple you're solving, it says using the quadratic formula. So I'll go through maybe 1 or 2 of these in detail, and then the others I'll just kind of post the answers for. So for number 14 here, excuse me. Now this one is factorable, but again, it specifically says quadratic formula, so we're using that. So A is 1, B is 8, C is 12. Make sure it's in standard form when using any quadratic formula. Then we plug in. It's going to be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So I go ahead and do the math here. It's going to be negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 48 over 2. Negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 16 over 2. Negative 8 plus or minus 4 over 2. Two answers. Negative 8 plus 4 over 2. Negative 8 minus 4 over 2. Negative 12 over 2 is negative 6. 4 over 2 is 2. Two answers. All right, so looks like 15 is factorable as well, but again, I'll just keep it moving. Let's do number 17b. Let's just do that one because it is not in standard form, so we need to do a little bit with that one. And then we'll look at 1 or 2 of the factoring problems. For 17b, we would need to get this in standard form. So that would be combining these like terms. It'll end up being 2x squared minus x, and then these two will come together to give me 2 equals 0. Right? Then I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So a equals 1. I'm sorry, a equals 2. B equals negative 1, and C equals 2. So it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. It's going to be 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus, it's going to be 16, it's about to be 8. 1 minus 16 over 4. So 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 15 over 4. Now, this would be a situation where we would have no real solutions. And again, you know it's no real solutions because it's a negative under the square root. But we would still just leave it, 1 plus or minus. We can pull out an I, root 15 over 2. Okay, over 4. That'll be our final answer. That's as far as we can go with it. All right, solving by factoring. I'll do 19b, and I'll do 19. For 19, just need to do C. seems like this temporary problem we just did. Hold on.